right, to you, Simon and Ron, back to President Obama and all the news that's swirling around all of this. An interesting tone here, talking about a bunch of issues, but Simon, what is the crux? What is the crucible that comes out of this?
Well, you know, this was an emotional event for me. I was a very early Obama supporter. I've worked very closely with this White House. My wife worked in the government, the administration, for all 8 years, and I've spent a lot of time in the White House. It's an emotional day for Democrats, and I do want to, the only thing I can say, and we can get into the questions, is that today the CNN poll that came out showed that 65% of the American people believe that this presidency was a success, one of the highest ever recorded in American history. I agree, and I think the country is better today than when Barack Obama came to Washington over 8 years ago.
You know, there are actually, Ron, 2 polls out that show him with that approval rating with the 6 handle, as we say on Wall Street, trading up about around 60%. When George W. Bush left, he was at 33%. 2 different presidencies, obviously, and there was the financial crisis that Bush had endured, certainly. But looking at this, so Donald Trump comes in, and what must he do to continue to have the positivity? He's already gained some points, certainly with the American worker, and of all groups, union workers too, where he's defending those jobs. But what needs to happen next?
Well, good afternoon, Liz. I think the very important thing that President-elect Trump needs to do is to make good on his promises to the American people. I remember from day one of the Bush administration back in 2001, the president was very resolute of, these are the promises that I made. These are the things that I'm going to do if you give me the privilege to serve as your president. And he delivered on that. And I think what President-elect Trump needs to do is be very decisive, to work with Congress, to work with Democrats, and to prove that he can reach across the aisle in a constructive manner and actually achieve some of the things that he's said that he's going to set out to do. So I don't think, unlike President Obama or unlike President Bush, I think President-elect Trump has a very short runway, and people are going to be expecting him to deliver much, much quicker than perhaps his 2 predecessors in office.
You know, he struck the magnanimous tone, certainly, and had some advice during this news conference for Donald Trump, because, listen, he said the job's not easy. Here's what he said.
This is a job of such magnitude that you can't do it by yourself. You are enormously reliant on a team. Your cabinet, your senior White House staff, all the way to fairly junior folks in their 20s and 30s, but who are executing on significant responsibilities.
Well, to the would-be cabinet, Simon, the Trump administration is trying to get some of these people confirmed, and you start having all kinds of events today. Wilbur Ross being asked about climate change. You know, I don't quite understand why Democrats, and I know they have to do their due diligence. I understand that. But at some point, you've got to give him a cabinet that he can work with when he starts on the job on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Democrats, both parties, always have a responsibility to fully vet these candidates. We've got, for the cabinet, we've got to kick their tires. And I think it's, in this case, it's been particularly important for the Democrats because so many of the nominees for the cabinet did not go through the traditional vet. They didn't go through an FBI background check before the hearings. They didn't go through the normal ethics vet. So I think the Democrats had a higher than normal obligation to kick the tires on these incoming cabinet officials, and I think this is how our democracy works. I don't see it in a partisan way at all, and in fact, almost every one of the Republicans are going to get through. I mean, I don't think you're going to see Democrats really knocking out. I think Tom Price is in trouble. I don't know, and certainly there's some others that may have some bumps along the road, but I think almost all of these cabinet secretaries are going to get through, and President Trump is going to have his government in place in the next few weeks.
You think they'll all get through? Ron, do you believe that?
Most of them.
Right now, you've got Tom Price going through the ringer in what is really just a courtesy hearing, because the real Senate hearing that will approve the HHS nominee is next week.
Oh, I do think he'll get through. I think Dr. Price, I think today's exercise was more about political theatrics. You certainly saw Senator Sanders and some of the other folks up there trying to poke holes in him. But I think that this is a new administration. The incoming president has the right and the obligation to have those cabinet officers surrounding them. And given the nuclear option that Senator Harry Reid, the former Senate Majority Leader, imposed on the United States Senate, it's now a simple majority rather than a 60-vote threshold. And yes, I think there will be 51 votes to confirm Dr. Price as the next Secretary of HHS.
Okay, that's a pretty big definitive statement. I want to thank both of you very much. Simon Rosenberg, always a pleasure to have you. Ron Christie, a good friend of the show. Thank you both so much.